It is mid-June, and that means travel season. These tips will help you whether you're traveling now or really anytime, and in particular if you're traveling abroad. My name is Ave, and welcome to Life in Flowers. I have been very lucky in my life, and I'm very grateful for it that I have been able to travel. The following tips are some of the things that I've learned along the way. Always bring any medication that you need on the plane with you in your carry-on, just in case your luggage gets lost. But in addition, and in particular, if you're going somewhere where you don't know the language, a medicine bag can be really, really helpful. We always travel with this now. It's not very big. And what this is a little sampling of common things that you might need. For example, a sleep aid, an antacid, a fever reducer, a decongestant, and things like that. Anti-diarrhea medicine. And we just get little Ziploc bags. I think we got these on Amazon. And we just label it and put a few pills in there. So this is a low dose aspirin. Some preparation H, okay? Put these things in your medicine bag because you don't want to have to go into a pharmacy and be pantomiming that you have a hemorrhoid, right? And also, if you don't speak the language, it's intimidating, first of all, just to find a pharmacy and then to try to talk to the pharmacist and even read the labels. You know, you can't read the labels. I do speak English, and English is often on the labels, but not always. And there's details in there that is hard to know what to do, like dosages and things like that. Subtle differences in cold medicine, for example. Is it a decongestant and an analgesic, or is it just a decongestant? So things like that. Some Band-Aids. Always carry a few Band-Aids. A little bit of antibiotic. Whatever it is, a little bit in this medicine bag. And it goes with us every time we travel now, even if we're traveling locally. It's just great to have the medicines that you're familiar with on hand. And incidentally, I noticed in Europe anyway, if you are looking for a pharmacy, they often have a green cross kind of a thing. So just you can be on the lookout for that. Exchange your money at home. If you need to exchange money, do it at your own bank with your tellers that you're familiar with so that you can feel confident in the exchange rate. Not even necessarily that someone in another country is going to try to cheat you, but it's hard when you're not fluent in the language to really understand what's going on. So we always try to change our money at our local bank where we are familiar with them. And do this in advance because sometimes they don't necessarily have what you need on hand. Do not display wealth. You will make yourself a target. We had a very interesting experience in Miami. So we weren't even traveling abroad. We were traveling in the United States. I live in the United States in the San Francisco Bay Area of California, and we were traveling around back east. And I won't go into the long story, but my husband had a $100 bill on the outside of his money clip. Put the ones on the outside. Don't wear expensive jewelry. He also had a Rolex watch on, and which he's had for years and years. You know, it's not like we're rolling in dough, but those little displays, I think caught the attention of someone, and I think we were going to be mugged. Luckily, we kind of noticed some unusual activity and we got out of there, but it really, really taught us a lesson. Do not display wealth when you're traveling, or really anytime, really. Only bring the credit cards and ID and so forth that you really, really think you need and that you're going to use. Because if for some reason, if your wallet gets stolen or something gets lost, even if it's a non-critical card, like say a library card, it's still a pain to have to replace. So we always go through our wallet and we bring just exactly what we think we're going to use. Make a list of the credit cards that you have and the customer service number and keep it in your luggage. I also keep one in my phone. We used to make photocopies of them and put them in our luggage, but I got to thinking, then if your luggage gets stolen, then someone's got your whole credit card number and everything. So we don't do that anymore. I make a list of the name of the credit card, the customer service number to call in case it gets lost or stolen, and then the last 4 digits of the card, but then I do like a code, like I'll do one more, right? So if the last 4 numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, then I would put 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that. And I do the same for all, just in case, that gets into the wrong hands as well. But you're going to want that customer service number if for some reason that card gets lost or stolen. And I would do the same with your passport, so that if for some reason you lose your passport, you've got your passport number. Do be aware of pickpockets and theft. And, I'm not trying to make this a scary thing. This can happen to you in your hometown. But first of all, it's happened to us. And I've seen it happen to others too while traveling. You just stick out like a sore thumb, even if you're trying not to. So if folks are out there and that's their business for whatever reason, they'll find you and they'll target you. We were pickpocketed in Madrid, Spain. We're not exactly sure when it happened, but I hate to say this, but I'm in awe of these people because we were with my stepdaughter, my husband's daughter, and she was living in Spain for school for a year, and she was very savvy, and we were shoving onto a crowded train. And I know we had the wallet to buy the train tickets. So we're shoving onto a crowded train and she's telling us, watch your stuff, watch your stuff, watch your stuff, right? This is when it happens. Crowds, shoving. And we really thought we were. We get off the train, we went to a supermarket and we got home, wallet gone. Thank goodness the passports were still there. But my husband had everything in a bag, but the zipper was to his back. You put that zipper to your front. Everything in the front. No backpacks, or at least nothing important in those backpacks that you wouldn't want to lose. Everything in the front where you can see it. And on that note, we wear money belts now. My father-in-law used to wear a money belt on his calf and a money belt on his body. And we used to all make fun of him until we got pickpocketed. Now we wear a money belt. Stuff is in a money belt, and one with a little, this little radio frequency looking thing here, because apparently people have the technology to just come by and scan your credit card. I have no idea how this works. But anyway, money belt, just a thin one. Yeah, it gets a little sweaty, but you know what? It's worth it. Keep your valuables in front of you. And when that wallet was stolen, it was only probably 2 or 3 hours when we noticed it, probably only 2. And by the time we did and called, money had already been stolen. So look from time to time. Don't let long periods of time go by without you checking that you've got your stuff, because you're going to want to call those cards immediately if they're lost or stolen. I always let my bank and my credit card carriers know that I'm traveling. And it's really funny because every time I do that now, they're like, it's okay, you don't have to notify us, but I do it anyway, because once I was traveling, I might even been, maybe I was out of state, not out of country, I can't remember. But anyway, I used my card in a foreign place, right? A place where the bank wasn't used to me using the card, and they froze it. And I couldn't get it unfrozen for days. It was such an inconvenience. So now, even if they tell me I don't have to, I always tell them that I'm traveling. AirTags are a great thing. We use them around the home, and now we always use them when we travel. And we have Apple products, so Apple makes a little AirTag, but I'm sure there's all different ones. You sync them to your phone. They're about the size of a quarter, and you can put them in your luggage. You can put them in your purse. You can put them in your pocket. I mean, my husband and I, we have, Find My on our phone, so we know where each other is as long as we have our phones, but you can also use AirTags for that. So for example, if you have one in your luggage, which we always do now, and your luggage gets lost, you can see where your luggage is. Make a plan in case you get separated. This came in very handy when my husband and I were on our honeymoon. We were on a cruise and we ran into some friends who were also on the cruise. So we're out on an excursion in Italy. We're walking around and we're doing our thing and we're taking the train. And we made a plan that if we get separated, we were going to meet. I think it was called at El Centro, one of the train stations. So here we are, super crowded platform. Everybody's crushing to get on the train. They get on, my husband gets on. As soon as my husband gets on, doors closed, phew, train gone. And there I am standing on the platform alone. Well, luckily we had this plan, so no need to panic. I just waited for the next train, got on. Interestingly enough, this train was not crowded at all. And I got off at El Centro, and it was really funny because as the train was pulling up, I could see them all standing. They were really separated, like on the platform standing, so that I would be sure to see them. It was really funny. I'm sure my husband was like, no, he was. Oh my God, I just got married and left my wife back at the train station. But anyway, we had a plan, and that's a really great thing to do, so that if for some reason you get separated, you know where to meet. Of course, we have our phones now and all of that, but you never know. Your phone might run out of battery or it might be out of range or whatever. So a backup plan is a great thing to have. Ladies, if you are planning to go into churches, you can't have bare arms. And really, your skirts should be below your knees. I found this out the hard way too. I had bare arms and I'm not sure where we were, but we wanted to go into these churches, and it's just not good manners to go in exposed. So I always carry a scarf. I just love a scarf while traveling. You can do heavier ones if you're traveling in the winter. You're probably not going to have bare arms, but just in general, a scarf is a great thing to have, and just a lightweight one. You can use it to cover your shoulders. Let's say you do want to go into a church, or maybe a lot of sun is happening. You can use it for sun. You can use it for warmth. They don't take up much space, and they're just so useful. But just know that if you're going into any kind of a religious place, you're probably going to have to cover up. And on that note, it's a good idea to look up some cultural norms of the place that you're going. For example, we were looking up, we went to Germany a few years ago now, and we looked up some cultural norms. And one of them was, when the server comes to your table, you better be ready to order. It's not like here in the States, or maybe it's different from wherever you live, but the server comes up, they give you some water, they give you a drink, they give you a minute, they come back. Not where we were going. When they came up, you better be ready to order, and we actually experienced it, but luckily we were prepared. And this just goes for many different things. And sometimes you're just not going to know. Like one time we were in Spain, and I love flowers. Okay, life in flowers, you probably guessed that. And I saw some freesia, and I was like, oh, freesia. And I reached down and I picked him up and I smelled him. And this woman comes barreling out of nowhere, yelling at me in Spanish, you don't touch the produce and you don't touch the flowers in this part of Spain where we were. And I didn't know. So it's always great to look up some basic cultural norms, and also know how to say thank you, please, excuse me. If you bump into somebody, what is the proper thing to say? A few words, just so that you're not bumbling around. You might want to download a translator for your phone. I've done this and it was really helpful. I am so happy for my translator. We were on a train that we thought was going direct to our destination. And then all of a sudden, something's going on and we could tell, something's happening. And I couldn't tell what it was. And I tried to communicate with the ticket man who was on the train, who was kind of gruff, by the way. He was just like, oh, going on. And I was like, oh no. So I put it in my phone and turned to the nice person behind me, and we were able to communicate back and forth of what we needed to do. And that was really helpful. You can also download apps that tell you, the currency exchange, how many dollars to whatever the currency is where you're at. That's been really helpful for us. Also, train maps like the Metro in Paris and the Tube in London, they have downloadable apps. That was great and really helpful for us too. If you have a connecting flight, particularly if you're going overseas, assume that your first flight is going to be an hour late. That's a new one on my list because it just happened to us on our last trip. Our first flight was an hour late, so we missed our connecting flight. This was a real pain in the rear because, we're overseas at this point. Now, we ended up meeting some really fun people who were on our flight. They happened to be from just a few miles, well, not a few miles, but, within driving distance of where we live, and we're still friends with them. In fact, we're going to see them in July, and we met other people through them. So it can be kind of fun, but boy, oh boy, you're in the airport, you're standing in these long lines, because not only did you miss your connecting flight, probably half the plane missed their connecting flight. So everybody's in these big long lines. So anyway, it's very tempting to want to reduce your airport time. But, if depending on the flight, depending on the circumstances, just assume your first flight's going to be late. Take pictures with your eyes. This was some advice from a dear friend, and I remember it every time I travel near or far. And what she meant was to be present in the moment rather than spending your whole trip behind the lens of your camera. Sure, take some pictures. I've taken many pictures. I'll probably include some in this video, but I always make it a point to take pictures with my eyes. And last but certainly not least is try to be flexible. A friend gave me this advice the first time that I ever traveled with my husband, and boy, was she right, and it really has helped me a lot. Things may not be like they are at home. In fact, they probably won't be, depending on where you go and how far you go. So just get ready for the unexpected. Toilet seat cover? Probably not. Toilet seat? We've been to places where I walked into a public restroom and there wasn't even a toilet seat. You had to squat over the toilet. So get your quads in shape. Plastic to-go cutlery, not in a lot of places, especially in Europe, which is probably a good thing. What else? Just so many different things. Coffee, that's a big one for me. I like to wake up and I like my coffee and I like it a certain way. But I had to let that go and enjoy the wonderful coffee the way that it is served wherever you are, or where I was. You just kind of have to go with the flow and expect it to be different. That's why you're traveling, right? You're expecting and wanting new experiences. So just kind of be ready for that and just try not to let it throw you. If you have favorite travel tips, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great trip.